Hey guys, Mr. Terrell here with your e-learning for May the 1st. I appreciate those of you that I got to chat with over the last couple days that logged on to Zoom. It was awesome to get that feedback, and I will be sure to try to take the things that you guys uh, gave me in terms of feedback and use those to kind of shape the last couple weeks of e-learning lessons here. One comment that several of you made was that you enjoyed kind of the current format where we use the Journey 2050 curriculum with the voiceover videos and then the questions that you answer at the end, and then also the Journey 2050 game. So we're going to continue to do that because the majority of you said that that was something that you enjoyed. So we're going to focus on land use now. So in past units, we've talked about economics, we've talked about water, nutrient management. We're going to look at the use of land and how using land sustainably will be so important when it comes to solving our problem that we have in Journey 2050. So, how much of the Earth's surface is ideal for growing crops? Take a second and just consider that question. How much of the Earth's surface is ideal for growing crops? Is it 50%? Is it maybe a little lower, 25%? Well, first of all, let's think about the Earth's surface in general. What is the majority of the Earth's surface covered in? Water, right? So that eliminates over half of the Earth's surface right off the top. Now, within the areas that are indeed dry land that could feasibly support crops, let's think about that land and how much of that is suitable for growing crops. For example, in the northern part of Africa, we've got the Sahara Desert, huge, huge part of that continent. Is that area suitable for growing crops? Well, no, so we can eliminate that. Let's look at in Asia, right here, the Himalayan mountains. Okay, kind of form the border right here between India and uh, Kazakhstan and those types of places. Very, very rugged, very, very remote, rocky, cold, non-hospitable. Can we grow crops there? Well, no, not really. Um, so you can easily start finding large portions of dry land here in the United States that just aren't suitable for growing crops. So, what percentage can we use to grow crops? Well, if we were to kind of make it a pie chart here, look here, probably 75% of this pie chart is water, and that's our oceans, glaciers, lakes, rivers, streams, ponds. So 75% of our planet is covered in water. Can't grow crops there. The next biggest sliver, okay, is our mountains, our Arctic areas, our desert areas, just areas that don't have the soil fertility, don't get the amount of water, don't have the temperatures needed to grow crops. And then we have the next sliver, cities. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, but obviously, as it stands now, we can't produce food in those cities, very much anyway. We have our land that's too wet, our land that's too dry, our land that's too rocky, and then we have this little bitty sliver right here, and that represents the percentage of land on planet Earth that we can use to produce food. By far the smallest sliver. And that's easy to take for granted, especially where we live here in Indiana. You know, you drive up and down the road right now and you see farmers in the fields everywhere getting their crops planted for the year. In any given area of Boone County, you could look around and see farmland for as far as the eye can see. Well, what we have to understand is that what's normal for us in Boone County isn't normal for most people on Earth. We are an exception to the rule because we live in an area that is very, very well suited for farming, but many places on Earth are just not well suited for it. So about 3% of the Earth, or 10% of the total land, has ideal conditions for growing crops. That means that 97% of our planet is not suitable for crop production. It's pretty mind blowing when you think about it that we live in an area that represents 3% of the total Earth's surface. So once again, I have linked the video here, the Journey 2050 land use video. I want you to watch that video. And as you watch, I want you to consider these two questions. Why is land a precious resource? And how are best management practices applied to land to you? I'm sorry, how are best management practices applied to land use choices? So press pause on this video, hop over to the other video, watch that, and then come back and resume. So you saw there in the video, they made some really good points. The one point that they made was that uh, be uh, we need to be looking at how we can utilize land that previously hasn't been able to support agriculture. So, for example, they use the example of uh, land that was previously too rocky, too rugged to grow crops in. Maybe we could use that land to graze livestock, things like goats, for example. Or maybe we could, take some land that is too dry for food production and irrigate that land, provide it with more water. And they talked about best management practices, basically utilizing practices that maximize efficiency on the land that we already have. That's going to be key. We need to identify ways to use land that we haven't been using, but at the same time, we have to make sure that we are uh, doing the most with the land that we have. So why is land a precious resource? I think that's abundantly clear by now. It's so limited, yet so important. It's where we live, it's where we grow our food, um, yet there's so little of it that we have to be mindful of that and we have to be careful. So what do we use our land for? Well, we use it for recreation, to spend time outside, camping, fishing, just going on a walk or a hike. We use it to produce our food, which is, what we talk about so much in here. Um, that land is needed to produce food for a growing population. We use it for our homes, for the roads that we travel on. We use it for the businesses that we support, the stores that we go to. Wildlife rely on it for their home, for their habitat as well. We utilize it for our businesses and our industries that provide us the goods and services that we need or want. So if we look at population statistics by country, and I like this map because it kind of gives you a color-coded version of that. You can look here at the key based on the darkness of the country in terms of the color of the country on the map. That gives you an idea of what the population density is of that country. So if you look at this, population is very centralized, okay, here on the planet Earth. So countries like China, very dark, India, very dark, portions of Europe have that very dark, very high population density, portions of the United States, even, the East Coast here, and the West Coast, California, very, very high population density. But the thing that I notice more than that is how much of the Earth's surface, how much of the Earth's population is down here in this 0 to 10 range. Look at the bulk of Russia, of Canada, South America, Africa, Australia. There's still a lot of portions of this planet that are very, very sparsely populated, and that's encouraging. That's encouraging because I know it seems like it's kind of all doom and gloom, and we're not going to have enough land to support everyone. But if you look here, there's a lot of land here that probably isn't getting utilized to its full potential, and we are going to have to start looking at ways we can use this land to produce more food. And then you see this map right here. Why is land such a precious resource? Well, here's where all of our agricultural land is. The green indicates pasture land, the orange indicates cropland, if you look, there's not just a ton of it. Look, even here in the United States, we've got a nice band of cropland here. This would be the Corn Belt. Okay? In Europe, we've got a pretty good concentration. India has a pretty good concentration, but there's not a ton of that land relative to the rest of the land that we have available. You'll notice that India and China also have a lot of the agricultural land. They've got a lot of the population, but they also have a lot of agricultural land and agricultural production as well. So 3% of the earth has ideal growing conditions for cropland. With best management practices, innovation, and technology, we can use nearly 40% of the total land to grow food or to provide grazing for livestock. So we're going to have to use best management practices to expand, okay, these orange and green zones. All right, let's stop right there today. You have an assignment on Canvas to complete. There are some questions that I want you to answer. And then in tomorrow's lesson, or I'm sorry, Monday's lesson, we will get into how are best management practices applied to land use. What are some things we can do to increase uh, the amount of land that we can use to grow crops and to maximize the efficiency on the land that we currently use to produce food? Thanks. Let me know if you have any questions and have a great day.